Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 6.
Breaking news tonight. Police think the same person could be behind robberies in two different cities.
So very sorry.
A man apologizes as he's sentenced for killing 3 people. But do the victims' families forgive him?
Ebola hasn't reached the Bluegrass State, but doctors here at UK Hospital say they are prepared and have been for months.
And a final salute today for a Kentucky veteran who died without family. WKYT News at 6 starts now. We continue to track a breaking news alert in central Kentucky tonight. Police think robberies this afternoon in Winchester and Lexington could be connected.
It started with a carjacking outside a Walmart in Winchester. Then about an hour later, police think the same person robbed a bank here in Lexington. And since 5, that stolen car has been found. WKYT's Jordan Valines has the breaking details about 30 minutes ago, what we've learned.
That's
Jordan?
right. It was about 30 minutes ago when Lexington police recovered the stolen car that was stolen earlier today in Winchester at the Walmart. You can take a look here behind me. You can see the car that was stolen. Now, police say about an hour and a half after that carjacking took place, the same person drove the stolen car to the First Securities Bank in Hamburg, proceeded to rob the bank, and then took off in the car once more. Now, around 5 o'clock, police located the light blue Kia just a short distance from the bank in the Pavilion parking lot in front of Ann Taylor Loft. At this time, police are still searching for the person involved. We just a few minutes ago, we received a surveillance picture showing the person who they say is responsible for both crimes today. And as you can see here from this picture, the suspect appears to be a white man in his 50s with a goatee and was last seen wearing a baseball hat and dark clothing. Now, if you were here in the Hamburg Pavilion area around at 5 o'clock this evening and saw a man who matches that description, you're asked to call Lexington Police. Live in Lexington, Jordan Valines, WKYT.
Of course, we'll continue to follow that story and have some updates when we get the information. He admitted killing 3 people in Madison County. Today, a man received 3 life sentences for those murders.
Matthew Denholm was sentenced this morning for killing Sansere Warford and Charles Walker and Zachary Flower. In court, Denholm also had a message for family members of 2 of the victims. But how did those families react? WKYT's Victor Puente has our top story at 6.
With his guilty plea, Matthew Denholm avoided the death penalty, but he'll spend at least 25 years in prison. The aunt of one of the people he murdered says she believes he deserves the same fate as his victims.
It's very painful to know that I failed my God, my fellow man, my own family, by my actions.
At this morning's sentencing, Matthew Denholm read an apology to the families of Charles Walker and Sansere Warford. He murdered the couple in 2010. He told police he'd been hired to kill Walker, and Warford just happened to be there.
I tell you now that her death by gunshot was very quick, and she did, in fact, have the opportunity to pray prior to being shot. I know that you'll never have closure, but I hope that this knowledge may bring you some little peace.
It was an apology Warford's aunt wasn't accepting.
But if I have the pencil and pen, I have to be honest with you. I would give you exactly what you gave them.
The mother of Denholm's 3rd victim took the stand for his 2nd sentencing. Zachary Flowers was killed in 2011 at his apartment in Berea. His mother said she wanted her son to be remembered as more than just a victim.
I told about all his accomplishments, the people he helped, the family he loved, the soldier that he was, the hard worker that he was.
Denholm will now serve a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole for 25 years. The families in both cases said there were other people involved, and until those people have been found, they won't have closure. Because of the kidnapping charge, had Denholm gone to trial and lost, he would have been eligible for the death penalty. In Madison County, Victor Puente, WKYT.
The Commonwealth's attorney says the case against the other man charged with Warford and Walker's death, Daniel Keene, is under grand jury review.
Investigators now say a 12-year-old boy found dead in a Louisville park was murdered. Louisville police say that someone in Cherokee Park found the body of Ray Etheridge yesterday in a wooded area. Investigators say the boy and his family often visited the park. They also say the family is homeless. At this point, police don't think a family member was involved in the boy's death. People at the park say the murder has left them in shock.
I come here every day. I run and ride the trails every day, so it's so scary to think that something might have happened on these trails, which I consider so safe.
Police have not made any arrests for the boy's murder. They say his mother picked him up from school early yesterday afternoon. His body was found in the park about 3 hours later.
For the first time, a case of the Ebola virus has been diagnosed in the United States. Doctors say a man visiting Texas from Liberia is now in isolation in a Dallas hospital. Federal health officials are now tracking anyone who had close contact with that man. At this point, no other Ebola cases are suspected in this country, but workers at UK hospitals say they are prepared to treat anyone with the dangerous disease. WKYT's Jerica Insko explains.
Following CDC guidelines, doctors here at UK Hospital say they've been prepared for months for if Ebola were to reach Lexington.
Now that Ebola has made it to the United States with the disease showing up in Dallas, Texas, hospitals are taking precaution. At UK Hospital, doctors there say they've had measures in place already that are very similar to treating other diseases. But a few new preps have been put in place, like asking patients more questions, especially about their travel history, and also extra training for physicians to be able to better spot the symptoms of Ebola patients so they can act fast.
So the key is just getting them out of any common area into a private room with a private bathroom as soon as possible.
As for an outbreak in the U.S., the Center for Disease Control and local doctors say it's unlikely.
Right now, it sounds like in Dallas they're doing their contact tracing and trying to get all the potential contacts that may have been exposed. And this is not an unusual process for communicable diseases in general.
This doctor says the CDC has found that most hospitals like UK already have proper tools to treat Ebola virus disease.
As for Ebola reaching the bluegrass, that doctor says that Kentucky's chances are the same as any other state. At UK Hospital, Jerica Insko, WKYT.
And you should know that you can only contract Ebola getting in close contact with someone who has the disease and exchanging bodily fluids with them.
Tonight we have an update on that soldier injured when an SUV crashed into a Lexington bar. Workers at UK Hospital tell us Noel Espino is now listed in serious condition. He had been critical. Espino is a member of the Guam National Guard. Owners of the Beer Trap, where the crash happened on Euclid, say they collected $4,000 in donations for Espino's family. They also say they've been told he could be in ICU for another month. Police say that former firefighter Jared McCargo crashed his SUV into the bar while drunk.
Tonight, we are still waiting to see if charges will be filed for a BB gun scare on the UK campus. The Fayette County Attorney's secretary told us today that if charges were filed, they would not be public record until a judge signed off on them, they were served, and a court date set. The attorney told us yesterday UK police plan to file disorderly conduct charges. 4 UK football players were suspended for Saturday's game because of this incident. Police say shots were fired from a pellet gun and 2 BB guns on campus Sunday night. Former UK basketball player Rex Chapman has started a substance abuse treatment program. Our news partners at the Herald Leader report he is now in the Brooke Hospital in Louisville. Sources say Chapman is trying to break a Suboxone addiction. That's a drug often used to wean people off of opiates. Last month, police arrested Chapman after they say he stole $14,000 worth of items from an Arizona Apple store.
October began with more sun and warm temperatures, but as we've been telling you all week, big changes on the way and a return to fall. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey is here to sort it all out. Chris?
Yeah, massive, I think, would be the term I would use to describe the changes that are coming from tomorrow into Friday, and especially by the time we hit Saturday. 48 hours of some drastic temperature drops out there. Right now across Kentucky, mainly mid and upper 70s with a mix of sun and some clouds. Another very nice evening that is jump starting throughout central and eastern Kentucky. Looking good around 7 o'clock. And remember, that sunset now is getting earlier and earlier. 76 degrees, upper 60s, then low 60s by the time we roll into 11 o'clock this evening. Showers and thunderstorms to our west into parts of Missouri Illinois down into the Ozarks. That's on the warm side of our cold front. Cold front is still off just to the west of the Mississippi River Valley. That has cold air and some snow that is coming in behind that. It's not snow that I'm worried about, but it's the major pattern change that will lead to some windy and wet weather with thunder and lightning. Then all of a sudden a temperature crash, wind chills coming back into play this weekend. I'll talk more about some of the crazy temperature drops that we're seeing just ahead.
A final salute today for a Kentucky veteran who died homeless. No family members claimed his body when the Winchester man died last month.
But friends wanted to make sure that he was honored. And as WKYT's Phil Pendleton tells us, the Patriot Guard riders stepped in to make sure the veteran received a proper funeral and burial.
Markers at Camp Nelson National Cemetery tell us a lot about the people who lived and died. But for Charles Eck, not much is known.
It's sad that this happens in America, but it's an honor that I could help him.
Jim Clendenning and other Patriot Guard riders wanted to give Eck a proper funeral when they learned that no one claimed the man's body after he died behind a Richmond fast food restaurant.
From everything I've been told, he was a good man. He always had a smile on his face.
So Eck received the full military-style funeral. From the Patriot Guard Riders Escort to the horse-drawn carriage or caisson.
It's a wonderful privilege and wonderful opportunity when we have the honor of showing our support.
With no family attending, his friends and others who knew him from the Peddler's Mall in Winchester filled the chairs and had their heartstrings pulled by what they saw.
Very sad about PFC Eck, but it says a lot about his character. He was a Vietnam veteran that served his country.
Eck joined the military when he was only 17 and served in Europe. He was married, but after his wife died, somehow his home became the streets, and his family, the various faces he would meet around town.
One of the gentlemen spoke about giving him money, and he'd take that money and go buy the kids candy.
In Jessamine County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
So very kind of those folks. The Patriot Guard riders tell us they hope Charles Eck's story shows that all veterans deserve a proper funeral regardless of their income or status.
Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell will be receiving some help on the campaign trail tomorrow from a former presidential candidate.
Also coming up here at 6, why many property owners in Fayette County may notice their taxes a little higher this year compared to last. Former presidential candidate Mitt Romney will be making a stop in the Bluegrass tomorrow.
Romney will be in Lexington to campaign for Senator Mitch McConnell, a fellow Republican. The campaign event will begin at 7 tomorrow night at Donnemeyer Farm on Old Frankfort Pike. Election day is November 4th. That's a little more than a month from now. The last day to register to vote in Kentucky is this Monday.
If you own property in Fayette County, you'll soon be getting something in the mail. Property tax bills for 2014 were sent out this week, and Fayette County PVA David O'Neill says you may notice your bills are a little higher this year.
The Board of Education took a slight increase, a little over 3% increase in the tax rate that the schools take. They've taken that just about every year with the exception of one. So you will see a little bit of a difference in your tax bill based on that.
O'Neill says his office also reassessed 7,000 properties in Fayette County this year, and that could affect the tax bills for those properties.